When you're broke, you're willing to try different things. And so I was running out of savings. Ooh boy, I don't know how we're gonna make rent next month. When I worked in manufacturing, like, they do not give a crap about you. They do not care about you. I got a little nervous because when I bought my house,
welcome to another episode of Raspberry Lemonade. I have an amazing guest with us today, the Airbnb Queen. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It is 55 and sunny in North Dakota, so life was very good today. It's better than snow.
Very cool, very cool. It's currently, I think, like 65 and cloudy in California. It actually rained like an hour ago,
Really?
which is weird. Yeah, this California weather is just
At
tripping
least
me out. Yeah.
I've never been out there, but I think it's a little dry too, right? It's kind of the drier heat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for the most part, we have, pretty decent weather. I think that's what California is known for. But every once in a while, it'll be like super bipolar and it's weird. But anyways, enough of the weather. Go ahead, introduce yourself. I want to make sure I get your name right. It's Jacinda, and then how do we pronounce your last name?
Yeah, my last name is Neustel.
Neustel, very cool. Where is that from?
We are German Norwegian, and I think my parents just pulled my name out of a baby book. I kind of asked them where they got that, but they didn't have a good answer. I really want to marry like a Smith or a Johnson or something similar, like simple, so that I can have one name that's easy to spell, because making reservations is quite the headache.
I can imagine. And then I can totally relate with the last name like Areola, especially in this country. It's like people don't even roll the R's, and it's like, what? Sorry, what? How do you spell that?
I bet they're like, hey.
As long as they remember Levi, we're
Yes, yeah, they gotta get that part down.
right. But let's get right into it. Obviously, you're known as the Airbnb Queen, so obviously that's like your thing, right? But tell us, how the heck did you even get into this niche within real estate investing?
It's all actually because I couldn't afford rent one month. I had a foreign exchange sister my junior year of of high school. And long story short, after I graduated, I went to go visit her for a couple months, and I was like, this is so cool to get to like stay for long periods of time in another country and see their culture and like experience other worlds out there and stuff like that. And so I really fell in love with traveling like that. But then I came back and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do that till I'm 65 years old. Like, no boss is just gonna be like, yeah, take 3 months off. We'll see you later. And so I was like, okay, I'll have to get like a work remote job. And this was pre-COVID, so it wasn't as common. So I went through a certification program to be able to do transcription and editing for medical facilities and stuff like that for doctors. And so I was studying part-time and working part-time, but your expenses, they still keep up at like a full-time basis. And so I was running out of savings, and I was like, ooh boy, I don't know how we're gonna make rent next month. It's gonna be a little tight. And so thankfully, one of my friends was just like, you should try Airbnb with one of your extra rooms at your place. And I was like, yeah, no, thank you. I do not want to do that. I don't want to have strangers come stay with me in my own house. Like, I don't want to get murdered in my sleep. I'm a single female. Like, this sounds like a Dateline episode is what it sounds like. And when you're broke, you're willing to try different things. And so I was like, look, if I don't like it, all I have to do is try it once, and I never have to do it again and stuff like that. So like, I got free bed frames and mattresses from the church that I worked at. I used my grandma's quilts that she made me for my graduation and stuff like that. Like, it was not nice. I really should find the photos from way back then. Like, my original listing photos were like
We
not
need
nice.
to see
By the
those.
way, I also had like one of the most outdated phones. So, like, the photos of it were just like terrible. And so I put that up, and it actually took off pretty well. And so I was really grateful that pretty soon it was like helping supplement my rent and stuff like that. And then pretty soon it like covered my whole rent. And I was like, well, this is kind of working out. This is kind of nice. And so I kind of scaled it from there. And so I got on my feet in a different line of business and stuff too, just working in manufacturing. That work from home job did not pay out at all. But I eventually was able to purchase house, and so then I started doing all 3 of my rooms in my house on Airbnb while I still lived there and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got into it. It was like People call it house hacking now. Uh-oh. Am I still connected? So sorry.
Yeah, you're still
Um,
good.
okay. People call it house hacking, and things like that. It is how Airbnb first started out, so it feels fun to like be one of the OGs that like did it the traditional way and stuff like that. It worked really great for me. Maybe wouldn't recommend it for people with families or pets and things like that. It was really great for me as a single female. Just like I work during the day, don't want to pay my whole rent. This works out for everyone. I love the travel nurses. I love traveling professionals and stuff like that because they just come home, they eat, sleep, shower, and go back to work kind of thing.
Yeah. So it almost sounds like you stumbled upon this kind of by accident, but you had a friend who kind of referred you to it.
Say it again.
It sounds like you had like you stumbled onto this kind of by accident, but it was because of this friend. And is this friend currently still doing Airbnb or how? Like they just kind of threw the idea at you.
Yeah, my friend just threw the idea at me, and I was like, I'm so good. And they'd never done it either. And so it kind of, normally I was like, you have crazy ideas. I don't think so. But also, you need money, you need money. So I was like, I'll give it a try. If I get murdered, it's on
Nice,
you.
nice.
I didn't tell my parents for 6 months.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
what was that conversation like?
oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I came home for Christmas and I was like, so don't be scared. This is what I've been doing. It's been going really well. This is like, the ways that we vet them and stuff like that. And at that time, I had one that was staying with me for like consistently. Like he was my main person that was staying with me and he would work during the week nearby and then he'd go home on the weekends and stuff. So he was just mainly staying with me during the week. And he was like a fun uncle to me and stuff like that. I went out with him on my 21st and stuff. Like he was fun to actually be friends with and
Oh
stuff. But
wow.
I like eased into conversation with my parents. I was like, so this is what I've been doing. It's been going really well. And like I talked to my aunt later that month or something like that. She was like, yeah, your parents are not cool with that. They are not. They did a whole rabbit hole research of what the heck that is. They don't love it, but okay. At least I'm not bothering them to pay my rent. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm still independent,
Right.
not bothering them to pay my
Yeah.
rent. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly, exactly. That was the silver lining.
yes, exactly.
I absolutely love that. But okay, so then you've been doing this, you said, since before COVID. So was this like 20 when this happened, or
I actually started in 20 doing
okay?
it with like the house hacking thing. I bought my home in 20, excuse me, and finished. I renovated the whole house, and so I had the renovation finished right in time for 2020. I was like, great, no one's traveling anymore. This is fantastic. Got a whole house ready for people, and no one's gonna come. But that's when the travel nurses started picking up, and they were fantastic. Like they were getting per diem out the yin yang, so they didn't even care what I was charging. And I was still, oh no, I think I was laid off during that time. So I could spend extra time renovating the house, even more so with that money. And like, they were really great. I was genuinely friends with just about everyone that stayed at my house. There's a few choice ones, but we don't remember them. Oh, real, right?
We don't talk about those. Yeah. All right, that's awesome. And
No.
maybe we could get a little further into that as far as what that was like during 2020. I don't know if that falls under your sour story, but I would assume there was some, anxiety that came with, oh my gosh, like I just did invested into doing this Airbnb thing and now no one's going to come, but we'll get into that, right?
Well, actually, 2020 was like 2020 and 21 were my best years. They were my best years. They were great. Like with all these travel nurses and stuff like that, like life is good. I got a little nervous because when I bought my house, I was working in manufacturing, and then they started laying us off even before COVID hit. And so I was like, I'm on the hook for a mortgage now, not just rent. Like, this is not cool. I don't like that. And so I really started like, okay, we really need to like be renting out all these rooms in my house so that if I get laid off or fired or whatever it is, because they were firing people left and right all the time. I was like, I need to have income that'll still cover everything so that I'm not just left high and dry and stuff like that. And so that's how I kind of got into doing the whole house and stuff like that. I remember I was on the phone with a friend and they're like, how much are you making now on all those bedrooms? And I like added it up and it was more than I made a month, like working 40 hours a week. And I was like, wait
Wow.
a minute. Like, I think I just replaced my day job. And so I was working one day and my boss really pissed me off. And I'm honestly like a very people pleaser kind of person, like just keep your head down, do what you're told. This is what we do and stuff like that. But I think I needed to get that mad to actually leave. But yeah, I was complaining to my coworker at lunch, and she was like, "Yeah, you don't even need this," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't even need this." And so I left that day and didn't come back, which is way out of what I felt. Even like months later, I went and apologized to him again. I'm just like, "I'm so sorry. That is not how I normally act or who I want to be and stuff like that." Unfortunately, I think it is what needed to happen for me to ever leave. I think I'd still be there working for them with just a couple Airbnbs, and that'd be about it. So at the end of the day, I am grateful for it, but I'm not proud of it either.
Oh man, that sounds like quite the story. But
Yeah.
that's really cool that you know. No, hold on. Like I'm trying to think about that because you did this or you started this out of necessity,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Most
Yeah. It wasn't just
people.
like,
I mean,
let's say it again.
I was letting you say your.
Yeah. It was really out of like, what the heck am I gonna do? It wasn't like, oh yeah, I want to be a hustler and I want to do all this stuff. And like, I've talked to other entrepreneurs, and like they had this endeavor in them, this like energy their whole life. Like they hustled candy or they had a lemonade stand or something like that. And I was like, no, that was not me. I was gonna go to college. I was gonna get a 4 year degree. I was gonna get married and have 2.5 kids and a 401
White
k and
picket
all
fence. All
that stuff. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it really started when I like started traveling, and then to be so sincere, when I worked in manufacturing, like they do not give a crap about you. They do not care about you. And I watched one of my coworkers get fired for leaving to go be with his wife when she was having a heart attack because he didn't have any more time off. And I'm not, I'm not
wow.
ever gonna ask if it's okay if I go be with my family during that time. Like that's I live for people to lean on me and depend on me and stuff like that. Like I want to be the person people call in the middle of the night. Now I have like 46 listings worth of people that call me, so it's a little bit overwhelming some days, but I got it. I got exactly what I wanted. And so I was like, this job does not align with what I want and who I want to be and stuff like that. So I was like, we need to figure something else out fast. And even just maybe if it was a pivot for a different kind of job or a different company, but still like you have to ask your boss if it's okay if you leave for vacation or if you can go be with your family. Like I'm not. I just kept going through my head of just like I'm not asking you if it's okay that I'm a decent person or like can live my life. I'm not gonna ask you and stuff like that. But
Right.
you have to when you rely on that kind of income and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I think we got to figure out something else.
That's it. That's amazing. Okay. Let's start getting into these. Oh well, no. Before, I mean, I was about to get to like the sweet and sour stories that we usually
Yeah,
do, but
yeah, yeah,
something that we like to do that's a little different than most podcasts is we like to get to know the person, behind the business or the career, the success, X, Y, Z.
yeah.
So, what was little Jacinda like? And if I may add onto that, is there a personality trait that you've had since you were a kid that has served you now that you've started this venture? Well,
Yeah.
since you've been on this venture,
So I'm an only child. Please don't judge me for that. I don't have quite the attitude that they all do. But I grew up an only child.
I would agree.
I grew up an only child in a rural North Dakota. We had 7 acres of land, and there is so many chores and only one of me. And so I'm actually very grateful that my parents did not set it up if I would have had a sibling that was a brother. I'm grateful that they didn't set up as, hey, these are your sister's chores, these are the brother's chores, these are women's, these are
Mm,
men's jobs. It wasn't like that. We just had chores and someone's got to do them, and that person is me, kind of thing. And so it taught me of just the people talk about the mentality of like how hard could it be? Like I'll figure it out. Someone's got to do it, and it's gonna be me, so I'll figure it out. And so it has proved very useful for renovating my house, starting the business, taking like you wear so many different hats when you're starting a business of just like marketing and maintenance and cleaning and photography and yeah, all the things. Oh, accounting. Good gosh, I finally learned that that's not my specialty, and I should not do that. But all the different hats that you wear, and like it served me so well. Where I noticed some other friends would be like, "Well, I don't know how to do that," and I was like, "Neither do I." But you just figure it out. I don't know. So I am very grateful that that is how I was brought up because that has served me very well.
I like that. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why I like to ask that question because some people, like you mentioned earlier, they did always have that entrepreneurial itch, and they were selling candy at school, they were flipping shoes, like what
Yeah.
have you, and but there you go. There's always a connection, I think, with one's upbringing, or in the very least, people who do make the leap and try to start a business or try a different career path that's maybe different from their family, that ends up serving them down the line as adults.
Yeah, I really it's been fun to over the years with my parents of just like I know that I scared them so badly when I started out. Um and it was really great that my dad and I actually took a road trip this last summer, and sometimes I run out of things to say, not gonna lie, so I like look through a whole bunch of just like random questions that we could eventually pop up for conversation starters. And
Well,
so
that's
I'd
cool.
ask a few, and then I showed him the list, and I thought it was so interesting what he picked. And he picked, like, what is your purpose in life? And so that kind of got us started on this whole talk about why I chose this business and stuff like that. Really, it's just so that I can be dependable for the people that are in my life and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I love Airbnbs, but I love the life that it gives me and stuff like that. And so we actually got talking. He's like, you didn't really have that itch when you were younger. Like, did we suppress it out of you? Did we squish it down all those years? And then when you finally graduated and moved out, and then you were able to have it. And I was like, no, I just didn't have it then. I think I needed to get a taste for travel, get a taste for how painful it can be to have a demanding day job. Like, that was all the sparks for these things that I was like, yeah, we'll probably do something else.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Um, Now, kind of moving on to the sweet and sour stories. These are
Yes.
probably like one of my favorite parts of the podcast because no matter, even if they're, oh, by the way, super honored to have you because you're the first person in the Airbnb space who's agreed to be on the show.
Oh, that'd
So
be
thank you
fun.
for that.
Yeah, thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
And I bring that up because even if, down the line we bring on someone else within the same niche, these stories are not going to be the same. Like
Mm,
you're going to get a different perspective. Maybe they're in a different area, and that's why XYZ happened over there.
yeah.
But in your case, we'll start with the sour. We always like to start with the sour, end on a high note.
Yes, I like that. I like that. Good Disney.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
What's been one of the tougher situations that you've been in that you've had to?
Yeah. So, shortly after I got all the 3 rooms in my house rented and I quit my day job, I was like, okay, this is where we get more. This is where we scale. This is apparently how you do the business thing. And so I like Googled what the heck other Airbnb hosts do to scale, because I replaced my day job, but I don't exactly have 20% down to buy another house and do this all over again. And so I stumbled upon arbitrage or subleasing or whatever you want to call it. And so that's where you talk to a landlord. I will be the renter from them long term. I'm going to furnish the place, and then I'm going to rent it out short term. But they know that. You do need to make sure that they know that and agree to it. I put it in the
Very
lease too.
important, people.
Very, very important, yes. And I'm really grateful that all my friends in Fort Wayne, Indiana, like all of us are in real estate. So I started going to the Fort Wayne Real Estate Investor Association meetings. And just going to those, people got to know you and stuff like that. And I wasn't really anyone. I was just this crazy girl that rents out her rooms to strangers. Like, cool, good for you, girl. Then when I started calling around for landlords, there was one that he was a property manager in the area. Met him a few times, and he was good friends, or he managed the properties of my friends and stuff like that. So we knew him through that and stuff like that. And I called him up one day and I gave him the worst pitch of my entire life. Oh my gosh. I was like, I don't know if this is what you want to do. This is kind of what I was thinking, but it's cool if you don't want it. I didn't even get it out. Like, hardly even got it out. Just like shot down the idea before I even said it. And he was like, sure, yeah, you can take a look at them. We can talk about it. And he ended up having 2 student housing buildings that were 5 bedroom each. That they didn't have them filled for the whole school year. And so they were going to be sitting empty, that's what you want to find when you get arbitrage units. Like, you want to find a landlord that's hurting a little bit. That is like, hey, what we're doing isn't working, so let's think outside the box to some other options and stuff like that. This is that other option kind of thing. And so I was like, look, I have all these travel nurses that need places to stay. They rent rooms in my house. I have more nurses needing places than I have rooms available. This seems like a win-win. So it worked out, and I got 2 properties for him. So I got 10 rooms total, which was like drinking from a fire hydrant. If we're being honest,
Wow.
really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so honestly, I'm so grateful that I got those, because then so many after that, I had so many investors in town. Like then I went from this crazy girl that had strangers staying in her house to like, oh, this Airbnb girl that has 13 units and she just started kind of thing. Like it brought some credibility to my portfolio,
Mm.
stuff like that. And so then I got a ton. Honestly, within the first year, I went from 3 to 30. Yeah, I went from 3 to 30 in my first year, and I was just like, okay, here we
What?
go. This is fine. Yeah. And so while I was growing all those, the market shifted. I had was it a 18-month lease with them? So this was this very last December. So that was bringing me until the very end of February was the end of my lease. And then we could figure out if we wanted to extend or if they wanted to take them back and stuff like that. And this was where things weren't as, COVID kind of died out. We didn't have that travel nurses anymore. If you're not pressed for it, people don't really want to stay in places where they have to share the space with other guests. So it worked out really great for traveling professionals like that. But when that market kind of shifted back, if they had the choice and there were other available ones in the market, which during that time, a lot of people were like, oh man, we have all these travel nurses everywhere. And so everyone started popping up properties left and right. And so then the market was saturated and mine wasn't the most appealing anymore. And I did not think through when I got these properties of how to flex it. It's super important. Does this property make
Mm.
sense as a short-term by the room rental, as a short-term short-term rental in general? Like, could I rent the whole house? It was a 5-bedroom house. It was just a little bit too big for anyone to rent that would make it worth my while and stuff like that. And then it also didn't make sense as a long-term because it was just so giant. It was furnished. It was just not working out. And so I was like, wow, I really cornered myself on this one. And so yeah, I had 2 empty houses for 2.5 months, and I lost eighteen thousand
Oh.
dollars during that time. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
"Ooh!" I was. Lots of investors have been telling me that, like, "Oh, that's your college education. You went to a semester of college for that amount." And I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, let's call it that. Let's do that.
It still hurt.
Yeah, sure does. But it was really, really hard during that time because I just watching it just tank. And so then I'm upcharging credit cards left and right, because like while I have to pay for those properties, I also counted on that income to pay for other things in the business. So like I'm trying
Right.
like I'm really trying to still make payroll for the people that I have. I'm just like, man, I used to use this money to pay my girls and stuff like that. Like what am I going to do? And so I'm just charging left and right on these credit cards and stuff like that. I even started moving into one of the properties because I was like, it's vacant. I might as well live there if I'm paying for it. So here we go. And man, I don't know. I need a firm mattress, and this one was a really soft mattress. So it was like killing my back. So I would just like sleep on the couch instead, and just like the mental toll of waking up in a house that is just tanking me right now, like just a reminder of a bad decision, and I'm sleeping on a couch, and I'm like, is this foreshadowing to like what I'm gonna have to do for the next year? Like, I'm just like couch surf on people's houses, like, oh no. Like just
Oh my
the
goodness.
meltdown of it all. And it was like in the wintertime too in Indiana, so it's all like dark and gloomy, and just like I am a very optimistic person. I've never struggled with depression or anything like that, but it was coming heavy on me, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here now. And I was waiting. I really want to live in Arizona because that's where a lot of my mentors, friends, and other investors go. And I really wanted to learn from them on how they scaled. Like so many of mine, like I had 30 rentals, but they were always like midterm. But when they started transitioning to short term, I was like, ooh, how do I handle that many turns every weekend? Like I can handle one every 6 to 13 weeks that the travel nurses did. But when you have them every single weekend, I was like, I don't know if I can handle that one. So I really wanted to go to Arizona to learn from them.
Oh, you're fine. You're still good.
And so that's what the holdup was to get to Arizona, was that I needed to get rid of these 2 properties. The end of the lease was coming in February, and then I could go. And I was just holding out because I was like, oh, I'll manually take out all the furniture and put it in storage and stuff. And I was like, no, that's a couple $100 to pay someone to take all that stuff out. Like, I need to get out and get my mind right and get back on this freaking horse, because we are just losing money left and right now. And it's just, oh, I can feel it. And so, yeah, I moved to Arizona during Super Bowl month. Jacinda, why did I think that was a good idea? Because everything's expensive then. But I did. Sure did. And I really loved it. I love being around the people. I love the weather. Who doesn't? But man, I lived in a tiny little studio that was like cinder blocks, and there was like one window. And my depression like
Wow.
full hit during that time of just like, I'm trying to work like as much as possible, and also like then I'm just holed up in my place all day, and then that just really lets a lot of time in for like all the thoughts in your head of just like, you're not this, you're not that, this is failing, this is a
Yeah.
terrible idea. And I was like, this is not great, I really don't like this. And so I was really grateful that one of my friends in Arizona, she asked me if I wanted to move in to her house. Her mom and her were sharing this big giant house, and they had a nice pool and stuff like that, and it was really nice. And so I moved in with her, and it was such a breath of fresh air. Like, she's also a single female business owner. I didn't realize how badly I needed a friend just like me, in the aspect of like,
Mm,
there's lots of mompreneurs, there's lots of business owners that have spouses and stuff like that, but like, there's just a lot. And especially, I really appreciate that my friend was in a male dominated industry. Owns a painting business, and so she's got a whole crew of guys, and like,
yeah.
she's this very young single female, and I'm like, there's some challenges to being that and stuff like that. So I really appreciated being around someone where I could just be like, we'd like high five each other on Fridays when I'd be like, I got $42 in my bank account after making payroll today. And she's like, I got 63. Woo! Okay, fantastic. We made it another week, kind of thing. And so I really appreciated being able to, one, not have to pay a stupid amount for rent in Arizona during Super Bowl, and two, just being able to like be honest and transparent with someone that life is not going good. Because also during that time, like, I don't want to tell my investors or like also my friends that I do business with, like, it was really hard to be honest with them, because I was like, please don't think that I still can't do this job. I'm just dying right now for
Mm,
mine.
right.
So it was a really dark couple months during that time of just like properties tanking. I'm starting to question myself. But then we started getting more properties, and she's back up, and I don't have the arbitrage ones anymore. I just mainly co-host now. I ended up having to sell my home that I wasn't living in anymore. I was renting it out as an Airbnb. But I ended up selling my house, which I was really sad about at the beginning. But it's really nice to not have that credit card debt anymore. So we're not really that mad about it. Another time. We'll get one another time. But so now,
There
mainly
you go.
co-hosting.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was quite the roller coaster right there.
Yeah, yeah. I am currently in North Dakota, and man, it is so nice just to like have a little slower pace of life and get to like breathe again after those couple months of just like, okay, we're still doing things in the business, but like, take a little time to like smell the roses, kind of thing. Like, we survived this year for so much of it. Like, let's just breathe and enjoy life and not have to worry about surviving, and also not pushing ourselves to the absolute like maximum capacity.
Right. Exactly. Man, oh man, oh man. I hope anyone listening out there is like, really appreciates the value here, because yeah, it's not always a bed of roses. And that's exactly what we try to portray on the shows. Like, you're gonna go through it.
Yeah, yeah. I love the name of the title, like the title of this podcast. I really love it, and also like to have
Thank you.
the sweet of the sour part of it. So I am in North Dakota because, so the whole reason why I got into Airbnbs is because I want to be there for the people in my life, right? And my really close friend here in North Dakota, her husband was leaving on deployment, and originally I was just going to come for like a month, keep her entertained, keep her mind distracted as when he first left. But they found out they were expecting, and so now I get to be here, and she would be fine.
Oh,
She doesn't actually need me, but like, it's fun to like put together the nursery together, or like be there for her appointments and stuff if she needs, or just hear about the firsts for everything. And so like, this is Oh, I feel so fulfilled and happy, and like it's so worth all those months of just like, what are we doing? Should we switch? Should we get a day job again? Like, I don't know about this. And now it's like, this is exactly what I did it for. So it makes me very, it's such an affirmation of just like, this is the life that I want. This is the business. These are the things that I should still be doing.
There you go. Wow. So would you say that's been like the sweetest part of this journey so far? Being able to be there for your friend
Yeah.
and
And
around
just,
those you love.
yes. Yeah. Just being able to go when I want to go. Like, I don't ask anyone. Excuse me, last week I went out to South Carolina to put the finishing touches on an Airbnb and just like, okay, I just go. And then I come back when I feel like it. Like we had to push out the return flight a couple days because it was taking longer. And like, I don't have to set an alarm in the morning. And I can, if someone needs help on a Tuesday at 10 in the morning, like, cool, I'll be there and stuff like that. So
Mm,
I really, really love the flexibility that it allows. Granted, there's also like no actual days off, just so you know. Like you're kind of always on, but when someone's like it's the weekend, I'm like it's my busiest day. Thank you, but
like
yeah, yeah, it's
this
Friday,
is
and I'm
my
like
Monday.
no, yeah, exactly. Um, but I'm so grateful for like just the freedom that I get to decide what I put in my day and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So see people, it's not always easy, and of course it's a give and take. But at the end of the day, at least for Jacinda here, she's taken life by the horns and decided for her heart because it's gonna be hard regardless, one way or another.
Yeah, I really love that saying because I was like, well, that sounds hard, or just trying to find like the path of least resistance, and like it's just it's all going to be hard, so why don't I figure out what I can tolerate, what kind of heart I'd rather have.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, we're at the final stretch here of the show. I'm not sure if you are huge on like music or anything like
Yeah.
that. I personally am. Oh, you are? Okay.
Oh,
That's awesome. I love, then you're going to love this question. One of the last questions that we ask on the show is if you had to choose your current live soundtrack,
ooh.
what song would that be? So for you, it sounds like you've had quite the last past few years has just been crazy and chaos. But as of today, as of right now, what would you say that song would be for you?
Oh, this is so ironic and fitting. I recently have really enjoyed, it's called Go for Broke by Machine Gun Kelly, and just like, yeah, put it all in. We're just gonna run with it, and at the end of the day I want to make sure that like, I put all my effort in. I gave it a go. I gave it my best shot, and if it doesn't work out, it's not for my lack of trying, kind of thing. It's
I
very
like
fitting
that.
for this last year.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's almost poetic.
Yes, that's hilarious.
Right on, right on. All right, I got one last question for you. Uh,
Absolutely.
but actually, I want to kind of sneak in a little bonus one in there.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because it's just so I don't have a lot of female guests. I think I might have mentioned that to you too before. Having you on. Especially single females in business, right? If you had to send a message to them right now,
Oh.
what would you tell them? Maybe would it be a piece of advice, just something to keep in mind? What would
Um,
that be? Now it's kind of a toughie.
no, I like it. I like it a lot. It seems like in business, it is so useful to be in like your masculine energy of just like I'm assertive, I'm dominant, I get things done, like I do all the things. I'm the marketer, I'm the accountant, I'm the this, I'm the that. Like I do all these things, and it's such like a masculine energy. And what I've realized lately, especially getting to this point in business, is that actually now it serves me very well to have more of a feminine energy of talking to my cleaners and maintenance and the rest of the staff and just being like, how are you doing today? What is going well? What isn't going well? How do you feel about this job? Like, what are your goals in life, and how can we make sure that that still fits in with the business that you want to be around here and stuff like that, instead of just being so like, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, like why didn't you get this done and stuff like that. To not just suppress down that side of you either, of just like the feelings and the caring, and it doesn't have to be just for females either. Like I do think that everyone has that masculine, feminine energy, and the which one to choose when you need it and stuff like that. But I definitely used to suppress the feminine of just like, oh, that's weak and stuff like that. And now it's actually, it rounds me out as a business owner now.
Wow, look at that. That's very refreshing to hear. I never thought about it that way, and I'm gonna take that to the
Thank you.
bank too. Like, just there's definitely a time, like you mentioned, to check in on people and be like, what's like, you look like you're doing great, but like, how are you actually? I
Yeah.
think that definitely goes a long way.
And especially like if I can't pay the most, I have to find some other reason on why they want to work for me and stuff like that. Like
Mm,
what am I bringing to the table? What are they getting out of this? Which maybe isn't monetary. Like, do they like the hours? Do they like me? Do they like what we're doing for the world and stuff like that? What we provide for people and stuff like that. If you can figure out what that is, that's more of a softer side of it. I think that's really why people stay.
wonderful. I really, really like that.
Thanks.
I'm gonna I'm gonna keep
15,
thinking about that.
I spent like $15,000 on personal development, so that's from that.
Well, you just saved me 15 grand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, you've been an absolute pleasure to have on the show. The very last thing that we got to do is where can people continue to follow your journey?
Yeah.
So
So I'm
what's
on Instagram at the.airbnb.queen. There we go. The.airbnb.queen. And it's me in a fancy little crown. I got it off of Amazon for like $13.95, but it makes me look really nice. So that's me. My name on Facebook is Jacinda Neustel. You might want to look into the show notes for that one because it's hard to spell. And TikTok is the same as Instagram and stuff like that. I'm working on YouTube. Still got a little ways to go on that.
Okay. Yeah, stay tuned for that. Again, I can't thank you enough. You've been an absolute pleasure to have on. And yeah, I would actually, shoot, I've never done this before. This is happening right now. But I would love to have you back on the show down the line where, we don't necessarily talk about, your experience specifically, but maybe we could tackle something that's very specific to entrepreneurs. So I've
I
done
would
these types of episodes in the past with an entrepreneur friend. But it'd be very awesome to have your perspective.
I would love that. I really enjoy talking to people that are interested about the negatives. Like it's so easy to talk about like, oh, life is so great in business and entrepreneurship, and it can be so idolized that it's like, well, let's talk about the stuff
Hmm.
that you messed up on. Like it's honestly more maybe not even entertaining, but just like so much more useful for me, for other people to hear about other people's losses because I'm like, yeah, I feel that, or like I also struggle with this and stuff. So thank you for being someone that's not just like tell me about everything that's great because it's not always great.
Not always great. Yeah, got to keep it real.
Yeah,
Well, with that, thank you everyone else too who tuned in and listened today. If you got any value at all from this episode, please consider subscribing to the show, and definitely stay tuned to see Jacinda very soon back on the show. Thank you so much, and have a great one.
bye.
This has been a Redbird Studio Productions. Hope you've enjoyed the program.